everybody. Are you or your tiger parents wondering what are the best paying careers out there and what degrees do you need to get there? If so, in this video, I'm going to talk to you guys about the top paying careers in the United States according to the US Department of Labor statistics. If you're wondering who I am, my name is Brooke. I'm an independent college consultant and tutor, and I often help students try to navigate the waters of getting into college and figuring out what path they want to take. We have a couple of courses online at SupertutorTV.com. If you're prepping for the ACT or the SAT, we'd love to have you prep with us, so definitely check those out. I also have a couple of books on the ACT math section that you can check out at Amazon.com. And finally, we're on social media, so be sure to check us out there. And finally, subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can keep in the know of all the things that we cover. Awesome. Okay, let's get started. So one caveat, just because something is not on this list doesn't mean it doesn't pay well. There are certainly really well-paying careers that didn't make this list. There's got to be a critical mass for it to make this list with the US Department of Labor. If there's a little weird career that only 100 people do, it's not going to make this list. Okay, people? Second caveat. I have grouped quite a few things that the US Department of Labor parses out into multiple categories into a single category because they're similar in some way. And I wanted to get to a little bit of a diverse palette of different careers. And if I didn't do that, this would just be a list of doctors. So there you go. There's a spoiler alert. And this is all in terms of pay based on the 2019 median pay. And what is median, my math friends? Median is the number in the middle, right? We don't average them together because then the few people who make like $1 billion are going to like totally offset the average. And it's not reasonable to think, oh, if I'm an average Joe who does this, I'm going to make that much money, which you can say that about this list because it's the median. And the median is the one physically in the middle. If I lined everybody up in the entire country and said, how much do you make? That human in the middle, that's median. Okay. Bottom of the list, judges and magistrates. Judges and magistrates, according to the US Department of Labor, make approximately $136,910 per year. What are magistrates anyway? I was wondering, like, what's a magistrate? It sounds really cool. A magistrate is basically somebody in the legal profession that is occupying a post within the legal system to facilitate processing of legal matters. Judges, I think you guys know what judges are. They sit in a court of law and determine outcomes and do sentencing when we have criminal or civil cases. And what do you have to do to become a magistrate or a judge? Well, first you have to get a bachelor's degree. You can pretty much get a bachelor's degree in whatever you want. Popular degrees for people who go into law are often things like history, or my major, American Studies, was very popular with people who wanted to go into law. And then you have to take a test called the LSAT to qualify for law school and apply to law school, get into law school, graduate from law school, and become a lawyer. Typically, judges have at least 5 years of experience as a lawyer before they can become a judge. There's even laws in particular states that prevent lawyers from instantly becoming judges before they've practiced law. So it's a bit of a journey to become a judge or a magistrate, but in any case, that's kind of the pathway. You're looking at 4 years in undergrad, 3 years in law school, and then 5 years of experience in the law profession at minimum, and often more. Oftentimes judges are appointed later in life. It's like the second lap of their career. Next on my list, number 9, is petroleum engineers. So petroleum engineering, as somebody who's a fan and proponent of green energy, and I know so many of you guys are into green energy, so many of the students that I work with are like, yeah, I want to be into green energy. And I would guess that that probably pays well too, because energy is so fundamental to who we are and what we do. I would also guess that as we increasingly shift from petroleum to non-petroleum energy sources, that petroleum engineering is going to be not so much on the rise. Now, for now, the US Department of Labor says that they have a job outlook for the next 10 years of growth of 3%, which is as fast as average, so it's not necessarily going down. There aren't a ton of jobs in this sector. It's 33,400 is the number. What can you kind of expect to make mid-career? $137,720. Approximately. For petroleum engineers, you typically need a bachelor's degree in petroleum engineering, though sometimes you can get a degree in other engineering fields and still qualify to become a petroleum engineer. Most people in this field have bachelor's degrees, some also have master's degrees. Which brings me to our next category, which is architectural and engineering managers. The median income in 2019 for these folks was $144,830 per year. The typical entry-level education that people have in this career field is a bachelor's degree, though they often have 5 or more years experience before being promoted to a manager and making this kind of a salary. What do these people do? They plan, direct, and coordinate activities in architectural and engineering companies. So basically, these are the people who are leading engineering companies in some way. If you want to be a leader in the engineering field, that's a great career. There's lots of different kinds of engineering that you can pursue. There's electrical engineering, chemical engineering, civil engineering, mechanical engineering. So whatever your engineering cup of tea is, if you go into that and then work your way up to manager, you can make a pretty good living. Okay, next on my list is computer and information systems managers. So to do this, you're going to need that well-coveted computer science degree or an information science degree typically. Most of the people in this field have a bachelor's. Some also have master's degrees. You're looking at a median income of $146,360 for this particular category. Again, this is sort of like CS meets management. So can you become a coder who also manages other people? If so, that's where you're going to be bringing in more cash flow. Typically, these people have 5 or more years work experience in a related occupation. So even though you may only need a bachelor's, you potentially need more experience. Next on my list is airline pilots, co-pilots, and flight engineers. Median salary for them is $147,220 per year. Now, when it comes to flying an airplane, a bachelor's degree or some professional degree isn't enough to actually sit you in the cockpit. You need to have flight experience, and you typically have to have a particular certificate, an ATP certificate from the FAA in order to fly an airline. You've got to log a lot of hours in order to become an airline pilot. This is also not necessarily a career that is completely done through your college education. However, most major employers within this market that are going to be hiring higher paid pilots expect you to have a bachelor's degree of some sort. And airline pilots make more than commercial pilots, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Commercial pilots only need a high school diploma or its equivalent in most cases. And the most common path to doing that is to complete flight training with certified flight instructors or schools that offer flight training. Next on my list, general dentistry. So what do you have to do to become a dentist? Well, first you've got to get a bachelor's degree typically, and then you've got to go to dental school, which is another 4 years on average of dentistry school. There are some accelerated programs where you can do like a BS program that also includes dentistry, things like that. They tend to be very competitive, but that's another option if you know you're dead set on being a dentist and you want to do it a little bit more quickly. But on average, you're looking at 4+4 to become a dentist. And that's $155,600 per year median salary. If you're a dentistry specialist, hold tight, we're going to get to you soon. Next up, chief executives. So if you don't want to go into STEM and you don't want to be a judge or go to law school, this is your category. And this is about all you got to go on. Chief executives on average make $184,460 a year. That's the median salary in this category during 2019. And basically, you can be your own boss because you start your own company, potentially as an entrepreneur, or you can run some other company as well. Most people in this realm have a bachelor's degree. You can also get an MBA if you're looking to run a Fortune 500 company or be among the elites of business and you want to be CEO of a major company, it might behoove you to do so. For that degree, you're looking at a 2-year degree if you do it straight away. There's also accelerated MBA programs that are completed in 12 to 18 months. You can also do a part-time MBA program while you work. That can take about 3 years. And there are some undergraduate programs that tack on a 5th-year MBA, and those are called 4+1 programs, 4+1 MBA programs. And you can also check out that option if you want to get an MBA. If you graduate with an MBA, your starting salary right out of graduate school is going to be higher than if you just started with a bachelor's degree, typically. And it's also going to prepare you again for being a CEO at a higher profile or larger company. Cool. In any case, you can major in whatever you want and lead a company because there's lots of different types of expertise that come in handy when you're trying to run a business. Okay, next on my list, physicians, surgeons, and anesthesiologists. So I have lumped all these guys together. The US Department of Labor actually stratifies them out into some different categories, but I'm going to put them all in one category because I don't want to bore you guys with a list that's literally all doctors. But in any case, physicians, surgeons, and anesthesiologists make anywhere from $175,000 ballpark median salary to over $208,000 a year. For whatever reason, the US Department of Labor stops reporting numbers after you reach that $208,000 mark as a median. But what I can tell you is that different specialties within medicine pay differently. So if you want to make more as a doctor, you're probably going to make more if you have a specialty. What does it mean to be a specialist? That means you're something like an orthopedist, a plastic surgeon, a cardiologist, a dermatologist. Those are some of the top paying specialties out there. On the flip side of the coin, if you're in public health, pediatrics, or family medicine, those tend to pay not as well. They're on the lower end of the spectrum when it comes to doctor pay. What does it take to become a doctor? Well, a lot. First, you've got to get a bachelor's degree and you've got to take pre-med courses so that you can qualify for medical school. In addition to that, you're going to have to take a standardized test called the MCAT with a wonderfully difficult reading comprehension section called CARS that I love to teach. It's one of my favorite things to teach as a prep tutor. After that, you're going to go to medical school. Medical school is typically 4 years. And then it's generally followed by something called a residency and potentially a fellowship. So remember when I talk about specialists? Well, specialists typically have to do that extra fellowship. And the number of years of training that you do depends on what kind of specialty you're going into. Granted, you do get paid during the end parts of your training. As a resident, you do get pay. As a fellow, for example, you do get some pay. So it's not the same as paying out for school, but you're not going to be making these doctor salaries when you're a resident or a fellow. Next category, orthodontists, prosthodontists, and oral surgeons. According to the US Bureau of Labor, these folks are making over $208,000 a year as a median income point. Again, while general dentistry is less well-paying, these specialties pay more. But in order to pursue these specialties, you not only need a bachelor's with pre-dental coursework, you then also need a dental degree, which is typically another 4 years, as I talked about in the dentist section. And on top of that, you're going to need some specialty training. That typically means a residency plus potentially a fellowship where you're learning specific elements of your specialty. A long road for these folks, but a very well-paying career. And finally, the last thing on my list is psychiatrists. Again, the US Department of Labor says that they make on average more than $208,000 a year. What do you have to do to become a psychiatrist? Well, get ready because it's a lot of training. First, you've got to get a bachelor's degree. With your bachelor's degree, you have to do pre-med coursework because remember that psychiatrists, unlike therapists or just psychologists, have a doctorate. So you have to go to medical school, which means you need all those pre-med requirements that all those other kids going to medical school need too. Then you're going to have to take the MCAT, you're going to have to get into medical school, and you're going to spend probably 4 years in medical school completing your psychiatry program. After that, you then are going to go into potentially 4 years of residency and 1 to 2 years of fellowship. So if you add that all up, that's 12 to 14 years of training to become a psychiatrist. Whew, that's a lot of school, but if you're looking to make good money and you like to work with people and you want to work with people on issues like substance abuse or mental health, hey, this could be a great career to check out. But probably good to get started early because it's a long road. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, so please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel if you haven't yet, and check out our channel for even more videos about career futures. And I will see you guys next time on SupertutorTV. Thanks so much for watching.